Hey everyone, it's Sidharth Kumar from ReviewMagic, and today we are going to be reviewing One Child Nation. So this is a documentary that is available on Amazon Prime, and I've been wanting to watch this documentary for quite some time. We all are familiar with the One Child Nation policy in China, and China is a big country. They have a massive population, more than India. India is not far behind. However, this documentary gives you a glimpse and deeper insight as to what shaped the social experiment when the Chinese government instituted one child policy, and how did that affect people, different cities, and overall, how did this shape, and did it really help China or not? So we're going to be discussing all that in today's documentary. I did my first video for Review Magic, how China got rich. If you haven't seen that excuse me, if you haven't seen that documentary, I highly recommend to see that. That is also an interesting insight into what changed from the governance in terms of revolutionizing China, and propelling the lower class who were starving to become middle class and higher class. So that's an interesting one. You should take a look. I have the link below in my description. So let's go back to One Child Nation. So everyone knows, has some idea what's going on here. So this is a filmmaker Nanfu Wang that goes to China. She used to live in China. She was born there. Now she has a kid, and she's the one who is narrating this story. She's meeting with different family members. So just for some context over here, this policy, like family members should have just one child, was introduced in 1979, and in 1982 this became part of their constitution. This policy was taken away or ended in 2015. So you can see that in almost 35 years ago, this is the policy that was introduced, and it really was a economic prosperity and social propaganda that was done by the Chinese government. The reason for that is because if they had not put the checks and balances, Chinese would have starved to death. There would be so many kids that it would be really hard to support that many kids. There would be a population war going on. So this was something that trickled down. This came to make sure that families don't have more than one child. So, sterilization happened across the country. You had abortions happening. There were fines. I think some places in the suburb it was okay. Far village, it was okay to have two kids, one boy, or maybe one boy, one girl. But more, in more suburbs, it was a little bit difficult because Nanfu talks about it. I mean, she has a brother in the movie, and there were two kids there. So some part of some areas, very remote villages, it was fine. Although the propaganda was happening there too, but a lot of this enforcement, where they were taking away the kids away, whether they were born, whether they were unborn, just maybe killing the fetus. If the fetus did not die, they're throwing away as in a trash bag, in a waste. There is a lot of things that happened back in the day that clinches your heart as to how these things impacted the social and the mental life of people. Like, for example, Nanfu, who has a younger brother, the younger brother was given preference that he could go and study in school, where Nanfu should go and start working. She doesn't have to go to school. Her grandfather would only take photographs with the sons, and not with the daughter or granddaughter. So it's very social, political. It's very family related things also were there in the back of the thing. But interestingly, when you see this propaganda going on, and people, the officials would, enact. There would be plays, there would be stages, there would be stage acts, there would be videos, there would be banners everywhere written, hey, let's have one child, one child, these are the benefits. So really very strong into enforcing this rule. And the propaganda video said that there would be savings of, back in 1971, $30 million if we prevent 338 million births from happening. So some people went too far. There were quotas for family planning officials. I thought that was I shouldn't say the word interesting, but the guy who made sure that the lowest number of babies were born, got rewarded the highest. I mean, it's really, eye opener. Like, oh my God, you heard about sales quota, but this is the opposite. The lowest amount of kids in a constituency, that family official is rewarded. So they did everything to make sure that the kids don't, too many kids don't happen. And sadly, when kids happen, as I was explaining, they were either killed, abortions, fetuses were thrown away. And sometimes, when the kid was even, he was, 2 3 years old, they were snatched and they were sent to these orphanage. You can just imagine. I mean, there is child trafficking happening. There are fines on you, sometimes $500. They come next day, this family is now fined $1,000, $1,500. There is no end to it. So, Nanfu really, she interviews a lot of people in her family, her mom, her grandfather, her brother. I mean, overall, the sense, it's a mixed bag. Some women said that the policy was correct, and some said that, the policy was correct because the country would perish otherwise. So there was a population war going on. Some said that no, they didn't think the policy was good. People would come, they would search, they would hide these kids, and they would just take them away, like, you take away an animal for slaughtering. So, there's a mixed bag here, because, old school thinking versus the modern thinking. So Nanfu is young. I mean, she's in her 30s. She's a young filmmaker. Her grandfather is in the 90s. So you can see there is a lot of generation gap, how you think. And sometimes, even her uncle, Nanfu's uncle, he went and he just, he just kept his daughter in a market, or maybe somewhere on the hill, just hoping that, someone would pick her up. I mean, my goodness, this is like you're tearing away your heart and giving it away. And how can people do that? Some did it under the pressure. Some did it because they just felt that that was the right thing to do. Some didn't want to do it. But it really is very heartbreaking when you see this documentary. Nanfu also interviews a woman who has helped give birth to thousands of kids, and some of these kids are missing. I mean, if you look at some of the chart that Nanfu and this lady, you can see all the photographs of these children, and my goodness, there are zillion numbers of these kids that are missing. There is no, the maybe the parents don't know that this kid now has been adopted by a family in the US or, in any part of the world. So this woman has kept a track of how many kids have, she's given birth to, she's helped in giving birth to. And I mean, typically, there was also some kind of discrimination happening that, if you were a girl, you were sent away. The guy was kept. This is what I was talking about. And, there was a lot of child trafficking happening in orphanage. Now, just imagine that, a U.S. family that has to come and, adopt a Chinese kid. He's coming and he is paying, $10,000 or $15,000 and doing all this. And these agencies are making so much of money, over the emotions of real parents. So there's fraud, there is corruption happening, there is baby trafficking, all across China back in those days. So I think that's really an eye opener for me. And then Nanfu also works with a American American couple, American husband, Chinese wife, and they have an agency where they do a DNA match, and to see that, how many kids in the U.S. have a corresponding DNA match in China. So they could be brother and sister, they could be twins. So that area was also explored, but unfortunately, that's not a very successful match, because maybe some kids are in UK, maybe they're in Australia, maybe in different parts of the world. So, but they did find a match, and it's hard now. You tell the foster parents that, hey, this girl has a sibling in China. Would you be okay to talk to your daughter, talk to the other daughter? There are privacy concerns. No one wants to come out in the open. So I understand it's very difficult situation. Those foster parents, they don't want to let go of this daughter now, because now they are emotional with this. So I think a lot happened in these 30-35 years, kids that were separate. And now Nanfu has done a job in trying to see if there is any way they could connect these kids. So that doesn't happen. I wish that was explored in the documentary more deeper. Maybe someone had met each other. And at the end, what Nanfu is showing, that the propaganda changes, because in 2015 the one child nation is ended. But people are so used to the one child policy now, and also because it's expensive to raise second kid in modern day China, that, and also there are a lot of old people in China now, so immigration is less, population birth is declining. So this reversal comes in, and now the propaganda video has completely changed. Now they're saying, hey, two kids are better, one can play with the other, happy family, two that sort of thing. So it's interesting how the dynamics have changed in the China political system, and as a way to revive growth in the country. So overall, guys, I think the documentary was interesting. It's an hour and a half long. You should be able to finish it soon. I really enjoyed it, and I've given my IMDb rating at 8 out of 10. I think this was a very decent job done by Nanfu, and it's not easy also, because you're interviewing a lot of people. When the news spreads out, because she had to do interviews with some people who were journalists that were living in exile in Hong Kong. So, some people, who reported on these practices that were happening, journalists, they were fired, and now they can't go back to China. Their families were threatened. It's not easy to do all this, what Nanfu has, exposed, or as she's just kind of brought to the world, what happened back then. There were literally atrocities happening, and women can feel they're cold, they don't care, they want to comply with the Chinese Communist Party's directive. But at the end of the day, you're a mother, and if your child is taken away from you, it is very heartbreaking, because Nanfu herself is now a mother. So I think, guys, go watch the documentary. I think it's great. It gives you a new glimpse into some of the social things that have happened in China, if you want to take a break from a usual crime thriller drama. So I recommend that. And that's all from my side. This is Sidharth Kumar from ReviewMagic, and stay tuned for more reviews. Take care. Bye-bye.